We're Slim and Soph. For the past 2 years, we've been sailing the east coast of Australia in our 10-metre sailboat, while studying from our laptops and, well, making these videos for you.
That was so sick!
Sailing our way through this epic adventure, we made it as far as the Whitsundays, before the cyclone season had us chuck on the brakes and complete some much needed maintenance and upgrades to this old girl. But we're finally ready to tackle Australia's top end.
I can't wait.
Well, as ready as we'll ever be.
We're off to a very Slim and Soph start.
Welcome to the second instalment of Season 2, Over the Top.
Way too early in the morning for that.
Well, after a 24-hour sail,
We are going into the night.
which was our first proper sail following a 6-month refit, we hit the sack hard after dropping anchor in a glorious bay on an island off the coast. Nakama, obviously stoked to be back out on the water, took herself for a wander in the night.
I wonder if it's shallow where we are right now.
Meaning we woke up to find ourselves pretty close to the shallows with some new neighbours.
We've dragged about like
100?
maybe just a little less than 100, maybe like 50, 70 meters. I reckon.
Upon dropping anchor, the wind was a light southerly, making this bay glassy and glorious. The bay was also pretty busy, so we put enough chain out to hold us, but not let us swing too close to other boats. When calculating our scope, we took into account the rising tide, but not the unforeseen swell that would creep in as we slept. The wind shifted around to the north, meaning we had no protection from the increasing chop, making Nakama bounce and pitch, tugging our anchor upwards from its holding. We somehow weaved through various mooring balls and somehow stopped just before hitting another boat, which is when we woke up.
This boat here, that boat's very close. We're so lucky we didn't go into anyone. And there's so many mooring balls too. Like, I don't know how we haven't got tangled, or maybe we have got tangled, I don't know. Anyway, we need to move.
Normally we wake up hearing any unfamiliar noise on the anchor chain. I suppose we were just completely knocked out from barely sleeping in the last 24 hours.
This is where we were. Next to this guy, next to this guy, and we were down there. Ah!
We're off to get some better protection from this northerly and heading around to the south side of the island.
We're off to a very Slim and Soph start. We've got a bucket on the floor we've upgraded our bilge sponge. We have to fix the bilges, otherwise everyone keeps seeing the bald spot. So we've got it leaking bilges. I'm assuming it's because we did a lot of motoring and it's probably something to do with the cooling system because there's no leakage from the exhaust or anything at the back. It's kind of frustrating staring into the abyss that is my hairline. The never ending point. My hairline's the only thing that will come to an end, unlike the boat jobs. It's not what I'm most worried about right now. Our mains isolator switch on our new power, we've got this flash dash awesome new electronic system, and the mains isolator switch is faulty. If you touch the switch, we're just getting all these crazy readings and things to it, so there's something weird happening there. Also because our windlass isn't working. I'm just going to see if it's getting power, and potentially if it's busted then perhaps look into getting that replaced too while we're here. We knew we were going to find some problems with the shakedown, and we found a couple.
So why do we have all these problems so soon after doing upgrades and deeming the boat ready? Throwing the boat back into it after sitting in the marina for 6 months, you are bound to find a few things that didn't appreciate the long stay in the marina, and also upgrades with creases that need ironing out. Slim put a multimeter to the windlass and discovered it wasn't receiving any power. So he went back to test the power in and out of the windlass isolation switch.
So there's 0.31 there, and at the end there's 0.2 something. So that makes sense, but the second I go to the input of that switch, I'm straight back up to 12.65. So our windlass probably isn't but our windlass switch is and that switch there is also but everything else should be fine. Well, that's good news. Did not expect to be getting the drill out on day 2. I even packed it away in the inside out of my toolbox locker because I was like, you'll be done for a bit, mate. Shouldn't have packed it away. I wouldn't have needed it. I need a...
Our stairs are falling out from underneath our feet while we're underway, so we're putting in reinforcements. That's all we can achieve this afternoon on anchor. It can't all be boat jobs, especially considering we thought we left this chapter behind. We're gonna go enjoy our afternoon on this island. There's a bus that goes through the island and we're gonna go on it. Go to the other side of the island where we were anchored last night. Probably watch the sun go down and have a couple of beers.
Taxi! Oh, look at that little thing. That's...
Liv? You remember Liv.
Literally.
Another boaty friend has just so happened to floated her way onto the same island.
Liv's about to get on the bus. We're going to embarrass the out of it. No, we're not. Everyone's getting off. Yeah, we're hiding. She's getting no change. She's getting no change.
She's getting changed.
Yeah, shut up. 1, 2, 3.
Ready?
Go, go, go. Let it go!
Please don't.
You're good. So this is where we were anchored last night. It's blown up so bad. It's just like so windy and choppy and awful. I'm so glad we didn't stay. These guys are watching someone trying to get a tinny out. Good night. Good night. Good night. Say good night.
Good.
Well, a southerly came through in the early hours of the morning. We did know that was going to happen, but we had a very pleasant sleep until then. And now the swell's kind of built up, which is sort of making it a little bit unpleasant. We're not really sure what to do though. We want to obviously move on. It's now going to be set in southerlies, so we do need to make our way over to the north side of the island. But we're not sure whether we're going to see an electrician or not in Townsville, but we need to wait for that call. I don't know what I'm saying, whether I should say it now. Yeah!
You should say what now?
We may have an appointment with an electrician, so we're not really sure whether we should pull up anchor and go around to the north side of the island or just wait a little bit of this chop and roll out here until we hear from him to see if we go to the marina or not.
As life would have it, and you've seen me tinkering around in the battery well again yesterday, we're getting weird like cross bleeding between our house and our starter battery, which I don't like at all. We had suspicion something was going on earlier, but obviously this is why you do shakedown sails. I think it's become more apparent now that we've spent a few days in a row offshore power. I want to have it resolved straight away, and our previous electrician in Airlie was a very busy man and we couldn't get a hold of him, and things like COVID and whatnot kept coming up, and then we were out of there. But this is, you're getting this side of my face now because the light was bad. Anyway, we're going into Townsville because our mate Vernon from Sailing Learning by Doing just did a lithium refit as well, and he said his electrician was brilliant. Not saying that our other one wasn't great, it's just there's a few things that we need resolving, and this guy seems pretty switched on, and it's not often you find someone willing to jump. Most electricians don't like boats, so this guy is madly enthusiastic. He was actually going to catch the ferry out here and see us yesterday, but it's turned out to be a bit easier today if we go in there to the marina, which I don't want to be doing because we only just escaped a marina, but we're just going in for the night to have him look at it, potentially order some parts if we need to change the way anything's wired up. And then hopefully with this done, everything should be schmick. The other thing is that yesterday, I'm pretty sure I identified the issue with our anchor witch as being the switch.
Anchor witch?
I'm pretty sure I identified the issue, as you would have seen yesterday, with the anchor winch being a switch. I don't know whether or not that switch exists for a reason. I want to ask a professional. Also, because potentially I could just do away with it and use the deck switch, or we just need to replace that. So, in summary, we're going in there to hopefully resolve the cross-bleeding between our house and our starter bank. The isolation switch definitely needs replacing because it's been real buggy. And also, we're hoping that this electrician can either let me know that I can do away with that switch and our anchor winch should work, or we need to replace that switch. But it's not a regular sort of part, so I might need a professional like make a switch for me because it's really awkward and hard to get to. But that's another story. For now, there's a bit of wind. We might actually have a good sail today.
This short trip will also give us a chance to look at our engine while motoring to see where this water we found is coming from. We have a strong feeling it's the cooling water system that's leaking, as we've had this trouble before.
Found it!
And we sense correctly.
Just gotta find out whether or not it's dripping from the pipe or from the impeller pump.
We will have to have a better look at it once we're in without the belt threatening our fingers.
We'll see when we're in there.
Albert, our new Sparky, came down straight away and got into looking at our system. He confirmed the mains isolation switch was buggered, but he could fix it with some nifty skills.
So Albert is an absolute chief, just like the smartest bloody person I've ever met.
The windlass switch, he agreed, was also buggered, but said we could either replace the switch or substitute it with a high-gauged fuse, which luckily we had a spare of, so naturally we hooked that up.
Hey!
And we again have a working windlass.
Now to those strange cross bleeds. We're getting weird like cross bleeding between our house and our starter, and the voltage fluctuations. If you touch the switch, we're getting all these crazy readings. And Albert did explain to us that yes, the fluctuations were as a result of the isolator switch, but not the dodgy isolator switch alone. It was because when the isolator switch was dodgily turning itself off, the solar would then try and power everything else on the boat as it didn't run through that circuit. So you'd have lights dimming and pumps not working properly, and these crazy jumps as it would then cut out when it couldn't keep up and then try again. So the power was jumping up and down and up and down, the lights are flickering, and we think something's about to explode. Turns out, relatively simple fix. We're going to fix the switch and isolate the solar if we ever need to turn off the mains power. As for the cross bleeds between the batteries, this was a lack of understanding on my part as to how exactly the BC-DC charger works. When we were having wind come in, for example, or the alternator to our starter battery, and it was flowing through the BC-DC into the starter, there are some fluctuations on the charge state voltage of the starter battery due to the fact that it's under load when it's charging the lithium house bank. If that sounds confusing to you, it was certainly confusing to me, but it all makes sense now. And everything's actually looking pretty good, and I'm feeling pretty good about how the new battery bank setup works and operates.
Albert also mentioned that he had a spare solar panel lying around that would match our current panel, doubling our input capabilities. He also happens to have some solar bracketing left over from a commercial job that, along with the panel, he has offered to give us. So he's back down the day after to install another huge solar panel.
I thought we were done with boat jobs.
just going to sit like that.
Yep. Sweet. It's sweet.
We have found you can never have too much solar, and in the current winter sun, it was a welcome addition, as Nakama is probably the most power-hungry 10-metre boat on the east coast of Australia.
The max out will be 30 amps out of that.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's the way you want it. You want it basically that this is under the voltage of that, like, so it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And then that can control it. That's not a problem.
One night in the marina turned to two.
So in the last couple of weeks I've probably spent more time up the mast than down the mast. In real time we've only just installed the wind and anemometer, and that was only like a couple of days ago.
Done! Oh, I need to get done.
We took off our windicator, and then it broke.
And it looked like it had been munched by birds.
And it had been chewed on by birds. So we bought a new one yesterday. So a quick trip today, hopefully. Shouldn't take too long.
So we assumed our usual positions of Slim on the winch and me in the bosun's chair to once again go up the mast. One windicator installed. Woo.
Good job.
I didn't kill her.
We didn't film last night's recipe because it was absolutely bullshit.
Well, if you heard what Soph just said then, we came up with a new recipe we really like.
We're so excited to show you, but we have to buy a cauliflower for it because we just use the cauliflower.
Almost reckon I might have to go to shops and get a cauliflower. Anyway, cauliflower recipe coming soon, stay tuned. For now, the mast's done, so it's eggs, then engine, then speed log, then clean the solar panels, fill up the water tanks, hose down the decks, and get back out to the islands and alright. Thank you. Next up, engine. Alright, for those of you that know, I'm explaining something straightforward. For those of you that don't, this is the impeller pump. It runs off the alternator belt and pulls salt water through to cool our engine. We've had heaps of problems with this before, but it puts salt water in the bilges for us because it's pulling salt water into the boat. Like, normally when you got salt water in the boat, you'd be freaking out, but we're always pretty chilled about it because we just think this bloody engine's leaking again, or this bloody pump. So what's happened is I've wanted to check the hose clamps. I've had to take it off to do that. They both look swell, but the bottom one had a bit of salt on it, so that was the one I suspected was leaking. However, I've been able to look now, and the salt's actually gathering on that hose joint, but it's coming from what I suspect is a failed bearing inside this unit, because it's happened to us before. The only frustrating thing about that is we had this rebuilt with a new bearing, like, less than 2 years ago.
A
year ago. So it's not going to sink the ship. Definitely means we're going to have to bail the bilges, but we can monitor it, and I guess we're going to have to get in touch with some form of mechanic because we're going to need that bearing replaced again, and that's not me because I don't even know what the bearing is. We had to, I think I legit, the weird thing is I think last time they had to order it from Sweden, and that could be very annoying at the moment. Like, I really hope that it's not a Sweden bearing again. A Sweden bearing. Our first ever sailing trip, we did the whole 3 months with this thing leaking, trying to figure out what it was, and then when we finally figured it out, that's when we got it fixed. Anyway, I'm going to put it back together.
To the speed log.
Nice.
I haven't even brushed my teeth yet.
That's better, eh?
Water. Water's in. That one. I'm gonna check the 50 litre. That's the one that's been leaking. It should
barely.
still be full, alas!
We're in
It's
business.
full! And we're away. Simon is already down doing a lecture. So it's just me!
Away.
Yeah.
Sweet, cool. Let me know when you need me to pop up.
We are determined not to drag this time. So we're in like 3.7 meters of water and we're gonna put out all of it. Fucking all of it. 30 to 40 meters at least. We're here.
Valet parking here, please.
I'm hitting the bottom.
Oh yeah.
I'm stuck.
Put the prop up.
Come get me.
Oh, it's a bit. No, I like just a spray to get rid of the midges. Oh, that's it's a little technical manoeuvre there. You're like, commando rolling on. You're like, let's roll out, roll out.
Done.
Courtesy car. What happened?
We've come into a minor drama. Our outboard cap has is gone.
It's gone walkabout.
Huh?
It's gone walkabout.
Yeah, so
What do you got?
now our solution to an outboard cap is tin foil and a rubber band. That's our outboard cap. Well guys, after a bit of a false start, we are back underway and excited to bring you next week. Just layers and layers of mountain. We're heading somewhere we have wanted to see for years, and it does not disappoint. We made it! We'll see you then.